What is up, YouTube? James Baek here, and welcome back to a analysis of my tournament matches. Today we have my round 3 at Aon Win-a-Switch tournament with me versus Mr. Talent. If you do not know who Mr. Talent is, he is a VGC YouTuber and streamer, and I highly recommend go check him out because he does consistent uploads of VGC on his YouTube channel as well as streams VGC consistently as well. He also does viewer battles very often actually, so I highly recommend go check him out. But we will be going over my tournament set that I had against him at Aon. I was 2-0 at the tournament at the time, and Mr. Talent was actually 1-1, so I actually got down paired. But doesn't mean I'm going to underestimate my opponent. I have faced Mr. Talent in the past before. At actually my first Aon Gaming tournament, which I did win. I actually played him in round 1 and then the finals of the exact same tournament. Anyway, my team, of course, will be the Salamence, Aegislash, Entei, Tapu Koko, my Milotic, and Tapu Bulu are sitting out against Mr. Talent's team of Volcarona, Suicune, Tapu Lele, Hawlucha, Kartana, and the Mega Metagross. So, what did I assume at team preview? At team preview, Kartana is weird against my team. I feel like Kartana does really well against, you know, the Tapu Koko, the Milotic, and the Tapu Bulu part, but doesn't really do well against my Salamence, Aegislash, and Entei mode. I definitely did want Entei. It is probably my go-to against this kind of team because my Entei looks really strong here. The only real answer is really Suicune that could take hits well. Otherwise, my opponent really doesn't have a good switch into a Sacred Fire, and being able to Stone Edge the Volcarona, most likely wall it with my Entei unless the Volcarona carried a random Hidden Power ground set. So Entei was definitely a Pokemon I felt like that was very valuable in this matchup. Aegislash I think is really good against this because of the basically my opponent can't really hit Aegislash at all for really good damage. The only things that could really become a problem are Stomping Tantrum on the Metagross, maybe Shadow Ball on the Tapu Lele, but those are kind of rare. But I could definitely see Stomping Tantrum on the Metagross. Volcarona is really the only big answer. Night Slash maybe on Kartana if it was AV or Choice Band, maybe Scarf, but I don't really see that on this team. And maybe Calm Mind Suicune, but I think I can still beat down Calm Mind Suicune unless it carries Rest. But yeah, I think Salamence is definitely a good Pokemon here. And I like Tapu Koko because Tapu Koko in the back basically outspeeds the Metagross, which gives me another answer because I can start getting some chip damage with Volt Switch early on. And it also knocks out the Suicune as well as outspeeds the Kartana and outspeeds pretty much everything on his team, barring the Psychic Seed Hawlucha if it does get it with its Unburden boost. And of course the Volcarona if it's a Quiver Dance set. And yeah, basically any Scarfer on the team. So, what I'm going to be assuming from the team, I'm guessing it would be standard Tailwind Suicune. I think it would be probably Z-Move Kartana. Could be AV though from this team. I definitely am seeing the Psychic Seed on Hawlucha, probably Tailwind. I'm seeing Volcarona. I'm actually assuming this is a Rage Powder support because I really don't see much that's really supporting Volcarona on the offensive side for a Quiver Dance set. Unless maybe it's Sky Drop on Hawlucha, which would make a lot of sense. Probably just standard Mega Metagross and the Tapu Lele. I'm guessing it's maybe Life Orb or Z-Move. So what I thought this matchup, I'm not sure exactly what my opponent's gonna lead here. I think Salamence Aegislash pretty much handles because Salamence threats into Volcarona, otherwise Aegislash pretty much threats into everything else on my opponent's team. So I felt like it was a pretty safe lead overall, and I think Entei and Tapu Koko were pretty good Pokemon to have in the back. Anyway, that's enough for the start. Let's just get started into game 1. So, this is going to be game 1 against Mr. Talent here, and yeah, should be a good one. But right here, I'm thinking, okay, what is going to lead? I don't think he will lead Kartana right away. I could see maybe Hawlucha, Tapu Lele leading, but we're going to see the Volcarona Suicune instead. And I'm like, okay, there's no way you should give me your Volcarona because that's your only answer to Aegislash, and I feel like Volcarona has to protect or switch out here. If it doesn't have protect, it definitely has to switch out here. Suicune can fire off an Ice Beam or Tailwind. I'm very assuming like Tailwind and the switch out or protect is going to be my opponent's play here. So I'm actually going to withdraw my Salamence going to Entei because I can live a Scald plus whatever Volcarona wants to draw off and Stone Edge to Volcarona for a threatening move the next turn. Volcarona does reveal to protect here, as anticipated, as we do see the Tailwind go up, and here I go risky with my Aegislash turn 1 because I don't feel like my opponent should ever attack with Volcarona there. So I sub a substitute so I can basically have a free hit if this Volcarona does want to move and stay in. But right here, I'm thinking, okay, no reason not to fire off a Stone Edge here and a Toxic, as we're going to see the Heat Wave come out from my opponent. Going to hit both my Pokemon, get rid of my sub, which I'm totally fine with as long as I hit the Stone Edge, as I am definitely going to be able to live a Scald from the Suicune, unless it's like some kind of really offensive Suicune, which I highly doubt it, as Entei is just able to take that Scald very easily, and I'm going to be able to heal up with my 50% berry, as Entei, unfortunately, gonna miss Stone Edge, and that was like, oh, that was probably a game-winning Stone Edge potentially, because Aegislash probably just beat my opponent's entire team. I don't really see a way my opponent really breaks through Aegislash without the Volcarona, so I'm like, that's frustrating. I'm gonna have to play this game a lot harder. I did land a Toxic, which is nice, but here I'm actually gonna withdraw my Entei, go out on my Salamence. I feel like if I want any chance of winning, I'm going to have to go into Salamence and probably just try to wear down the Suicune and get into a position where I can outspeed my opponent's Pokemon in Tailwind and get a double knockout. So, we're going to see the Inferno Overdrive. I was fine sacking Aegislash here. I honestly didn't expect the Inferno Overdrive from the Volcarona, but that's good information to know. I would assume it most likely means it's a Quiver Dance. Maybe it's an Overheat set, but I'm thinking Quiver Dance here. Is Inferno Overdrive going to come out? I was honestly expecting another Heat Wave Scald so you can knock out my Entei before it goes for, like, you know, potentially a Stone Edge and knock out your Volcarona. But that works out fine. Maybe my opponent expected Wide Guard, which does make sense of a play, as Scald is going to come out in the Salamence, and I'm hoping for no burn, really, because that would just probably put me out of this game. Luckily, no burn comes out. Suicune going to take a bit more poison. Going to go out on the top of Coco here, and I'm like, okay, last turn Tailwind up. I just double protect here. Even if we switch out to Lele, I can threaten it with a double edge. And yeah, unless you switch out Suicune into top of Lele, I should still be able to get a double knockout since I still have my Z move intact. So I'm gonna go for a double protect here. I could predict anything, like maybe Volcarona, Quiver Dancing, which Mr. Town does decide to go for, but not worth risking one of my Pokemon here. And Volcarona can't knock out either one of my Pokemon unless it's HP Ice on the Volcarona. Snarl going to come out from the Suicune. So I could have double edged there, but I don't think I ever risked my Salamence there. Snarl's interesting, which means the Suicune either doesn't carry Ice Beam or Protect most likely, since we saw Scald and Tailwind. Tailwind does peter out here. And here, I'm going to Mega Evolve because I need Salamence to be able to pick up a knockout on Volcarona. And I'm hoping that I do go for Volt Switch plus double edge here. I'm hoping Volt Switch actually knocks out the Suicune, as Volcarona actually goes for the Heat Wave here. Gonna be able to do a lot of damage, but doesn't knock out the top of Coco. Volt Switch gonna come out, and I honestly expected this to knock out, but I shouldn't have underestimated Suicune's bulk, as Suicune is able to tank that, and the berry is gonna activate on the Suicune, so it is a 50% berry, as I will retreat my top of Coco and bring out my Entei here. And this is not looking good because Suicune either gets a Tailwind or a Ice Beam off, and both of those are really bad for me. Double Edge going to come out onto the Volcarona, so I do get rid of Volcarona, so I don't have to worry about that thing outspeeding my Tapu Koko, and my opponent doesn't get Tailwind up yet. Yeah, Mr. Town just going to go for Tailwind, so the pressure's still on, so I don't really have a good answer, because I'm probably going to need some double protects or something to stall out this Tailwind. As Tapu Lele is going to come out, and I'm like, oh, I probably just lose here. You could probably just Ice Beam Psychic, or you could go for, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Ice Beam Psychic, or you could probably go for, like, I don't think Scald knocks out my Entei. Maybe you could go for Gleam Scald, which would probably seal up the game if you have it, as I will double protect here. And Psychic going to come out into the Entei slot, as Suicune is going to go for Snarl. Curious decision, because Snarl doesn't actually knock out my Salamence, but I'm alright with it, as Poison is going to wear down, but it doesn't knock out the Suicune. Here I'm like, okay, if he makes the same play again, I'm really not in a good position. So I have to go on something that I can predict. So I had to go into my Tapu Koko here, bring out the Electric Terrain, hope that Entei can survive a Psychic, and get the Sacred Fire chip damage onto Tapu Lele. As we're going to see the Psychic into Entei, and unfortunately it does get a critical hit. If that was Choice Specs Tapu Lele, it didn't matter to crit, but it plays a sense where the mind game of were you Choice Specs or not, because I can't confirm it because of the critical hit. If it wasn't Choice Specs, I was definitely 100% going to live that, and you know, if it was Choice Specs, I confirm it there, which would have been great knowledge for later in the set. as we're going to see the Hawlucha come out, as I will be bringing out my Salamence here. I really don't see a way I can win with a 25 HP Salamence. So that's going to be a good game. So I am going to drop game 1. Unfortunate Stone Edge miss because my opponent really didn't have anything. I doubt Hawlucha could really touch Aegislash, to be honest. Maybe Encore could play some mind games around, but I think Aegislash would have been really good to have because, you know, knock out the Volcarona, Aegislash would have stayed around, and even with Snarl Suicune, like, Aegislash was just going to be able to take attacks, and Shadow Ball was going to KO Lele. The Suicune was going to be wear down by Poison eventually, and the Hawlucha, again, could be Toxic Stalled. I have Thunderbolt on the top of Coco. So, yeah, very unfortunate, but, you know, that's Pokemon. And I was already fortunate enough to hit my Stone Edges later in the round. So, I mean, earlier in the rounds, like in the previous round against Marab. So, I'm like, okay, didn't exactly work out. I led into something that Aegislash just didn't have a really solid time against. I think maybe I should keep Aegislash in the back against this team. So, I'm deciding, okay, he's not leading Hawlucha Tapu Lele, it looks like. I'm assuming maybe it's the same lead again. And I'm like, okay, if my opponent does want to set up that lead, I'm thinking maybe I switch my game plan over to a Salamence Tapu Koko lead. Because I think Salamence Tapu Koko, Gigavolt Havoc should be able to knock out the Suicune, no problem. Double Edge knocks out Tapu Lele, there's no Intimidate to stop it, really. So, unless it's a really, really bulky Tapu Lele, it shouldn't be living a Double Edge. And I kind of doubt it. And the only way that could really be punished is by like a Metagross Tapu Lele lead, I guess. But I could always Volt Switch in my Aegislash, so I don't feel like too bad about that. So I am going to lead my Poco Salamence in the next game. And I feel like Aegislash and Entei are still Pokemon that I do want to bring. Because I don't think Milotic does much in this matchup, like, at all. I don't think Milotic's good at all. And Tapu Bulu, like, it does handle the Suicune. But otherwise, Volcarona, Metagross, Tapu Lele, Hawlucha, Kartana, not exactly fun Pokemon for Tapu Bulu to handle. So I know these 4 Pokemon are the right choices. I think I'm just going to switch up my lead here for the next game. Alright, as I said, I'm going to go with Salamence, Tapu Koko, Entei, and Aegislash in the back. And Mr. Talent, going to be switching it up. Going to switch out the Hawlucha and bring Metagross this time. But, yeah, we'll see how this game goes. So, my game plan is don't let Tailwind get up and still try to knock out Volcarona. Because Volcarona was really the only Pokemon that would have probably been super problematic to my Aegislash. Otherwise, Aegislash can have a really fun time against my opponent's team. So, Salamence Tapu Koko is going to lead here as my opponent does lead Suicune and Volcarona. Now, gonna bring out the Electric Surge and an Intimidate, which is pretty useless against my opponent's team, but like, Volcarona really doesn't threaten me. If it Quiver Dances, that's fine, but again, it's the same position as game 1. You can't lose Volcarona because Aegislash is such a threat in the game. I'm actually just gonna go for a double attack into the Suicune, because this Suicune, I'm betting it doesn't carry Protect. I'm pretty sure Ice Beam would be its last move. I'm doubting it actually carries Protect, because that would be very rare. As we're going to see Mr. Talent actually going to double withdraw his Pokemon, bring out Metagross for the Volcarona and Tapu Lele for the Suicune. And I'm like, okay, maybe trying to bait out the Z move into the Tapu Lele slot so I don't have it later in the game, and also readjust your board position. But I'm like, okay, I'm fine with this as I Mega Evolve with Salamence here. I'm actually just going to go for a Thunderbolt Double Edge into the Suicune slot because I know that would be able to guarantee a pickup knockout. I was thinking maybe Volcarona might switch in the Tapu Lele there, so Suicune could potentially live any attack, but yeah. Instead, I just get to knock on Tapu Lele, which is really nice. Volcarona gonna come out. I'm like, okay, this is really, really solid here, as I can just switch out my Salamence into Entei. I'm pretty sure if you send out Volcarona, you must have maybe Ice Punch on your Metagross because you need to get rid of my Salamence so your Volcarona can potentially set up if you want a chance to win this game. Metagross is going to Mega Evolve here. And even if Volcarona doesn't protect, I feel like I'm fine against it. But Volcarona does decide to protect here, and I'm guessing, oh, it's probably Ice Punch coming out of that slot. So I am going to Volt Switch here into the Metagross, because I don't think Tapu Koko's the threat here. I think Tapu Koko in the electric terrain is in the threat here. I think you always target down the Salamence slot. So I'm just going to bring out my Salamence so I can threaten the Volcarona the following turn. And even if I lose Entei to like a Zen Head, but I feel like that's fine as well, because I can bring in my Tapu Koko, Gigavolt Havoc, Double Edge the following turn. But here instead, I can now Double Edge the Volcarona slot, even if you switch out. I mean, Suicune's taking all that chip damage, and then Tapu Koko can come in and wreak some havoc. So I do not mind, as I do get to knock out Volcarona, as Zen Headbutt's going to be fired off into the Entei, and basically we're taking trades here, but I feel like I got the biggest trade of them all because got rid of your Volcarona. My Aegis Slash is looking so good in this matchup, as my Tapu Koko going to come out, as Suicune's going to come out as well. And honestly, I don't see a problem just firing off my Z move to knock out this Suicune, because I will be able to pick up the knockout on Suicune no matter what. As we already saw, you were 50% berry, so I'm just going to fire for Gigavolt Havoc. There's no reason not to. I know I pretty much should have this game, because unless Metagross carries maybe Earthquake, and even if it does carry Earthquake, it shouldn't make a difference, because I just double edge here, get a bit of chip on the Metagross, and then like Metagross can decide who to knock out potentially. And you can't even knock out Tapu Koko unless you have Stomping Tantrum and you get a high roll. So Gigavolt Havoc, knock out the Suicune. The Suicune is going to faint, and the Metagross is going to decide to go for the Iron Head actually in the Tapu Koko after I get the Double Edge. Double Edge actually did a lot more than I expected Metagross. Metagross has really high base defense. I did not expect that Double Edge to do so much. Iron Head is going to go on the Tapu Koko, but as you see, it doesn't knock out. And then Mr. Talon's going to hit the forfeit button. So yeah, I really liked how Game 2 played. I felt like this lead was definitely better because my opponent really doesn't have ways to pressure it, really. And for the Game 3, I'm like, okay, does Mr. Talent really have a way that could really handle this lead effectively? Because this lead pretty much just picks up KOs against this entire team, especially with the Gigavolt Havoc. Gigavolt Havoc just does so much work against his team with Tapu Koko next to my Mega Salamence. I'm like, alright, what can he lead? I don't really see answers on his team that can really handle it. So I'm thinking I could probably just get away with bringing the same four and lean the same thing, to be honest, because I feel like I could readjust my board position accordingly no matter what he leads. And I think I can handle anything he decides to lead with Tapu Koko Salamence, to be honest. So I'm like, okay, I'm probably just going to bring the same four. I think it works. I just have to figure out what my opponent could decide to bring instead. I don't see Kartana coming like at all. I know Kartana is definitely not coming in this matchup. Not sure exactly what's going to be coming out, to be honest. I would assume Volcarona has to come. I'm assuming Lele probably to change the terrain. It's a toss-up between Metagross, Suicune. I'm not even sure if Hawlucha is going to come because Hawlucha really can't do anything to Aegis Slash, so I'm not sure. If he is Stomping Tantrum on the Metagross, which I kind of doubt at this point. We saw Iron Head and Ice Punch, and I'm guessing the last move is Zen Headbutt because of the fact that, you know, you have Tapu Lele, so most likely I would assume you're having Zen Headbutt on that team. So I'm like, okay, maybe you don't bring Metagross, maybe you do. It probably does more work against Aegis Slash than Hawlucha. Maybe you don't bring Suicune, but I feel like Suicune can do really well if you get rid of Tapu Koko. So it's a toss-up, really. I just have to figure out what my opponent is going to do based off the leads. Alright, Game 3 against Mr. Talent. I'm bringing the same four as Game 2. Exact same lead and exact same Pokemon to back. Mr. Talent is going to adjust by bringing the Hawlucha over to Suicune this time. So we'll see what Mr. Talent's able to do with the Hawlucha instead of the Suicune. Suicune was probably the Pokemon I was most worried about, to be honest, because it was probably the Pokemon that gave my team the most trouble. So not seeing Suicune as a lead really is going to relieve me here, as I do lead Salamence Tapu Koko against Mr. Talent's Tapu Lele Hawlucha, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if it respects Tapu Lele. I could definitely see it on this team. You weren't Life Orb. I could see Specs, to be honest, because I don't really see why you would a real big reason to lock yourself into Psychic in the Game 1. So I'm just gonna go for Double Edge Gigavolt Havoc. If you protect and go for Tailwind, I guess I'll take the trade of taking your Hawlucha instead, because I'm pretty sure Gigavolt Havoc should knock out Hawlucha, because it is able to knock out Drifblim. So gonna go for Double Edge plus Gigavolt Havoc. I don't know if you have Protect, but the only thing I'm really worried about is having Volcarona and Lele next to each other, because then Volcarona could probably set up a Query Dance and I'm in a really bad position, but I'm not exactly sure if that's gonna happen here. But I'll be willing to take the trade because I need to get rid of Tapu Lele if I can. So I'm just gonna go for Gigavolt Havoc. I'm just gonna go for straightforward plays, to be honest. We're gonna see the Protect from Hawlucha, which is something I was not anticipating at all. I did not know that the Hawlucha would carry Protect, since most of them usually don't. So Gigavolt Havoc gonna go to the Halucha through Protect, and yeah, I would have picked up the knockout. It does 33% through Protect. And I am going to be able to fire off a double edge. And this should be able to knock out any top of layer unless you're bold. And I kind of doubt it. As, yeah, I just am able to knock out the top of layer. I'm like, oh, that was such a great turn, to be honest. That was such a great turn. I got rid of top of layer. Terrain controls mine. I threaten to knock on the Halucha the following turn as Metagross is going to come out here. And I really don't need Salamence as much in this game. I feel like I'm just going to fire off a double edge into Halucha and Volt Switch. Because I feel like if I get Aegislash into a good position with Entei, because I feel like Entei can win this game now. If I set it up right, get rid of the Psychic Terrain. So Acrobat's going to come out on top of Coco. Does a lot, critical hit. Volt switching out into the Metagross because I get chip damage on the Metagross, which 100% puts in shottable range. And also, probably just Sacred Fire range too as well. As Aegislash is going to come in, and I will go for the double edge into the Halucha. So Halucha is going to go down here. As I cannot let Entei take damage, so I send out Aegislash because it's probably good switching. I don't care if I switch into Zombie Tantrum, to be honest. I switch into an Iron Head instead, which works really well in my favor. Leftovers is going to come out from my Aegislash here and heal up some HP. Volcarona is going to come out. No Tailwind. No Tailwind was here. I honestly expected Tailwind instead of Acrobatics last turn. So this is probably the perfect position because I'm able to most likely just pick up a knockout. If you double protect to get me in my blade form, that's fine because I still don't think Metagross can knock out Aegislash even in blade form. So we're gonna see Volcarona protect. Ice Punch is gonna go on the Salamence, and I'm like, okay, you can pick up the knock on Salamence. I'll trade for your Metagross. If you protected Metagross and went, well, if you protected Metagross, Volcarona was gonna go down. So pretty much game was over there. So no matter what, I was like willing to take a trade. Double protect would have probably been the issue, but then again, you would have probably needed a double protect with Volcarona and a critical hit with Metagross even. And yeah, I have my Entei in the back, and this is the reason why I saved Entei, because Entei can do a lot of work in this game. And I don't even have to Stone Edge here, which is great, because I can just go for Sacred Fire and Shadow Ball, because Sacred Fire should be a 2 KO on the Volcarona, as it is a 2 KO, as Heat Wave is going to come out. If my opponent decides to go for Quiver Dance, I get the Shadow Ball chip damage to put it in range of any attack from my Pokemon. And yeah, as long as I don't miss a bunch of Sacred Fires, I should just be good against the Volcarona, as Tapu Koko can come out now. And since my opponent doesn't have a Quiver Dance or Tailwind up, I'm just going to be able to outspeed, pick up a knock on Volcarona with Thunderbolt, and that would be the game. So Mr. Talent going to forfeit there, and going to be able to pull it out in a 3-game set. So that was the first game I actually lost throughout the tournament, but luckily was able to pull out the victory in the end. So good games to Mr. Talent. I felt like Pokemon matchup wise, I was like, my team had a really good matchup. I felt like it. I just needed to play the cards right. I had to get around the Psychic Terrain. Tailwind was gonna be annoying. The only parts I was afraid of this entire set was like Volcarona getting set up in Tailwind and then away from my opponent to knock out either the Entei or the Salamence that was next to it right away. Because if that happened, it would have been really hard for me to navigate, because if Volcarona set up once, Heat Wave was going to be threatening, as well as Inferno Overdrive, just to be able to knock out the Aegislash, which is probably my only Pokemon that's really just able to threaten Pokemon such as the Tapu Lele or the Metagross, unless I have Salamence. But the problem is if you have Tailwinds, that's problematic. So speed control wise, yeah, it could have been problematic, but luckily just my opponent didn't set up Tailwind and set up, because if you set up after Tailwind, maybe Halucha didn't carry Tailwind on the team, which I kind of doubt. Maybe Mr. Talent just thought prioritizing damage was more important on the top of Coco, putting in range of +1 Heat Wave guaranteed, which I definitely do understand. But luckily, able to pull out a win there. So 3-0, there were 5 rounds of Swiss. If I win one more, I do guarantee top cut at the Aon Gaming tournament, because all X1s do cuts. So just gotta win one more. So thank you everyone for watching. That was my match analysis against Mr. Talent. If you want to go check him out, his YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch links will be in the description down below. He does stream a lot of VGC content, and I highly recommend go check him out, because I think he's really underrated. But otherwise, yeah. A lot of people have been asking me if I am going to be doing a team report on this team. I will be in the future, so look out for that. And yeah, stay tuned for more tournament matches from the Aon Gaming tournament, and bunch of my future tournament matches as well. Catch you around in another video.